people know that if you have not ever listened to the show before, we are Off Color. It's like a combination of drunk history meets Dear White People. So, ready yourselves. Okay, so I want to start off with my regular guest and sometimes co-host, Danette. Danette, thank you. That was so beautiful. Can you just talk to me a little bit about, how you chose those songs?
Well, I chose those songs because I feel like most Black events I go to, you will hear that song. I was like, I'm going to play like the songs I hear most often when I'm with my people. And I would say Cameo Candy and Outstanding by the Gap Band are furthermore, I'm a musician. So I'm a Black musician. I'm very involved in my community. I play a lot of gigs for large groups of Black people, age ranging from, kids all the way up to elders. And that's a pretty regular requested song, is Outstanding by Gap Band. I probably played that like a million times.
All right, I like that. I feel like people are getting some knowledge up in here around that. Okay, so, hey, White James, you okay?
I'm doing very well, thank you.
That's enough of him. All right. So real quick before we get into it, because we do have some guests. We have a lot of things going on tonight. We have some special guests that are here. We have 2 outstanding poets. And then we also have some highly qualified people to discuss issues of the day. And the month, because it's Black History Month. Heyo. Yeah, exactly. That's what kind of Black History Month it has been, okay? Let's talk about that just really briefly. So I feel like the things that happened this Black History Month were rampant blackface yearbook photos. Did you guys hear about that? Did anybody hear about that?
Everybody beware. Check your
politicians' yearbooks before you vote.
Right.
Okay.
Well, I think that a lot of white people have been operating on a low level of racism without realizing it, and they've been doing it pretty comfortably for a really long time.
Yeah, word.
So it's like, we're bringing up old shit, but at the same time, like,
it never went away.
It's time to kind of call it out. Yeah, it's not going away.
I mean, I feel like that's low level. Like, if you have pictures of yourself in blackface
as a teenager,
now is the time to tell me. Anyone.
Come out with it. Just get it out on the table. If you did it last year at Halloween,
you are in trouble, motherfucker. You are in trouble.
We can't be friends.
You should not be here. Okay, so that was one thing. And then, I just feel like there was so many things that kind of, came up. I mean, the blackface thing was like pretty intense. And then there was also... I don't know if it's like good news or bad news that R. Kelly has been arrested, right? I mean, it's obviously like it's good news in the scheme of like life, but I just, But I'm also kind of like, bad time.
Late time.
Yeah.
Late.
I'm like,
as in, it's
it's just that I feel like people didn't care. Now they do.
20 victims later.
Yeah, so it's just like it's one of the things that's like up in the air. So that was something not too sure about. However, I also wanted to kind of highlight some things that are positive. So I just wanted to ask you, should I start with you or should I start with White James?
You can start with me.
Okay. Who is your favorite Black historical figure and why?
I would say Bobby Seale. Yes, powers to the people. No, I grew up in Cali. My father grew up in Oakland. So I grew up learning quite a bit about the Black Panthers and just how much they did for the community and sort of grassroots work. And, it sort of fell apart towards the end there. Yeah. But the intention of, let's just mobilize. And I think he even ran...
they ran like lunch and breakfast programs for the kids. Like,
he
especially
tried
in Oakland.
To run for political office. They were trying to hit it from all fronts. Let's feed people. Let's protect people. Let's educate people. Free health clinics. I'm really about that. I'm just tired of asking the white supremacy machine for permission to be healthy, to eat good, to give my children good access to education, to live in a safe place. I'm just so so tired of that. And I just love that about the Black Panthers, that they just took it within their own, into their own hands and really made something and modeled things that we now even model today in both Black and white communities. And so I just dig that. I dig that. And Bobby Seale was, Huey P. Newton got a lot of the camera time, but Bobby Seale was absolutely doing a lot of the groundwork as well. So.
Yeah, you were not here when we played trivia earlier, and people didn't know that.
I was asleep.
So, okay.
It's my Saturday.
Why, James, who is your favorite Black historical figure, and why?
Does it have to be a political figure, or
I said historical.
Is James Baldwin an answer?
I'll say James. That's a great answer.
I like that.
That's a great
answer.
answer.
That's a great answer. But why?
I'm an English teacher, and he's my favorite writer of any kind.
All right, I like that. Why, James, you surprised me. I thought for sure you were going to say MLK.
Martin Luther King is a great man.
That would be an okay answer.
That would be an okay answer.
It's okay,
as well.
but okay. All right, that's fantastic. So before let me check the time, because this podcast happens in my basement at my house. So we really moved on up, except that we're in the basement of someone else's house, but it's fine. All right, so I did want to, let's see how we're doing for time. I think we're pretty good. I wanted to bring up one of the great treasures of our city. She is a poet. She is an activist. She is the host of the SIP podcast. She is Candy C. DeBaca, who is running for city council. She's her right-hand woman. And her name is Kerrie Joy. Kerrie Joy, come on up. All right, so Kerrie, you can do you need a mic stand, or what would you like?
Am I doing my thing first?
Yeah, man.
Okay.
All right. You want this?
How y'all doing? Happy Black History Month, y'all.
Happy Black History Month!
Black every day, every minute, every hour. To all the Black people, Black power. All right. Appreciate you, King. All right. So, how y'all doing tonight? I can't see nobody. Y'all doing good? That was weak. How y'all doing tonight? That's beautiful. That's beautiful. So, as the beautiful Rebecca did say, I am Kerrie Joy. I like to share words with people and share my heart with people. I'm really happy to be here with the Off Color podcast. You're doing big things, boo. So I just really want to give some love to her real quick. So thank you. And Danette for laying it down. Thank you. So I have a poem that when I think of Black History Month and when I think of me being Black, it's the one that comes to mind, and it's called I'm Rooting for Everybody Black. So I hope y'all enjoy it. Here we go. On September 17, 2017 in Los Angeles, California, a phrase was said that rang throughout the sound waves of every cell phone, tablets, and computer across the world. It was on this day that my idol, Issa Rae, when approached with the question, who were you rooting for at that year's Emmy Awards, proceeded to answer as such, and I quote, I'm rooting for everybody Black. I really am, end quote. Well, it was in this moment that I felt transported to my youth. The very first time that I truly recognized my Blackness, this scarlet letter burned into my flesh. As if melanin was a poison that I had no choice but to drink, and the sins of the world saturated my skin because I damn sure didn't ask to be Black. But yet, here I am, a little girl looking into the world, hoping to find a reflection of herself, only to be met with a glass ceiling on which I saw the soles of the feet of people dancing upon my dreams, dressed in the latest privilege, a brand that many refuse to admit they inherently own. But when Black children are suspended because their hair is considered a distraction, the standard is quite clear. And when Black-sounding names are met with more suspicion and less distinction than their white counterparts, the standard is quite clear. Our very existence is questioned. We can't have the hair on our own heads, the fullness of our lips, or the thickness of our hips. Well, not really mine, y'all, but you know what I'm saying. But then again, it becomes a fashion trend when it's inappropriately appropriated, selling melanin $30 for an hour session or $500 for lip injections. Meanwhile, all our lives we had to fight for this to simply be okay, for my right to simply take up space without being of service to you, of entertainment to you, or being considered a threat. So listen, I'm rooting for everybody Black because I remember that Hattie McDaniel, the very first African-American to win an Oscar, was let into the all-white award ceremony only as a favor. I'm rooting for everybody black because I remember that even the 44th president of these United States, Mr. Barack Obama, was still only seen by many as a nigger. I'm rooting for everybody black because I resent the allegation that affirmative action is the root cause of my success when it is simply there to assure that my magic is acknowledged, my magic, that dynasties before me have poured into my eloquence because as a black woman, speaking black has become something that I do with pride because some of the earliest of languages were birthed in the land from which my ancestors were stolen. So my vocabulary and my intelligence in no way deny my blackness, and my occasional to frequent use of ebonics in no way denies my intelligence. So listen, I'm rooting for everybody black because I'm sure that 8 of the Little Rock 9 that are still alive today would be happy to educate you on why we so resiliently created a language of our own, as a proper education was always reserved for those that didn't look like me. So I'm rooting for everybody black because as we infiltrate the spaces that used to be deemed white only, I am telling you that you have always deserved to be there. You can compete with any damn body. So I'm rooting for you to show up. I'm rooting for you to break every glass ceiling and challenge every opposition, because when the next generation of little boys and little girls realize that they're black, I want them to realize it with pride, dignity, and hope for their future. Their life does not have to be a tragedy. I want them to wear this skin, this scarlet letter, like a badge of honor, because listen, black people, we do miracles. We walk on water, held up by the sea of beautiful black bodies that came before us. We raise the dead because living within us is the strength and resilience of our ancestors. So define yourself. You are not the stereotype of your quote-unquote hip-hop culture. You are not a monolith. You are every color of the black rainbow, every tint and every hue as you deserve to be your own. Not a burden to your race to explain away your individuality, but you are beautiful and unique, and I'm rooting for you. I'm rooting for you because you were smart, you was kind, and you was important. I'm rooting for you because you are elegant and divine. I'm rooting for you because you are soulful and brilliant. You are loud and boisterous. You are meek and socially awkward. You are creative and you are unparalleled. I'm rooting for you because black bodies like ours are still being sold as chattel today. So I'm rooting for you to emancipate yourself from mental slavery so that we can remove those chains. I am rooting for you, the next Martin Luther King, the next Maya Angelou, the next Lauryn Hill, the next Frantz Fanon. I am rooting for you, the next Chadwick Boseman, the next Tessa Thompson, the next Sean Carter, the next Neil deGrasse Tyson. I am rooting for you to be the next you, to be the only damn you, and to make sure that your world will never forget your name. Thank you. I love y'all.
I love that poem. I love that poem. Come here, get your microphone. Okay, so Kerrie.
I can't breathe.
I know. That was dope, as always.
Appreciate you.
So before we, let me catch your breath. You catch your breath a little bit.
I'm good.
Okay. No, I'm fat and out of shape in Colorado. I'll call her. Anyway, I'm winded from that. You know what I mean? I'm winded from it. Okay. So I wanted to ask you just we're on a tight schedule here that aren't usually. You've been on the show before. You know how we do it. You had to leave. You were like, I cannot stay here all night, Rebecca. You had to go. So I just wanted to talk a little bit about the inspiration for that piece. Like, what other stuff are you doing, I guess, that is for the Black community?
Okay, so I guess I'll start off with the inspiration for the piece real quick. So I was asked to speak at the MLK Parade last year in 2018, and so I had, just started getting back into writing some pieces and just some inspirational pieces, but I was thinking, what would I want? What would I want to hear in that moment as a Black person? And understanding that there's so much going on in the world where you just feel like no one is rooting for you. And sometimes it's hard to root for yourself. You know what I mean? Just understanding that it seems like everything can be against us at times. And even though I know I'm an intelligent woman, even though I know I'm an ambitious woman, there's so many things in the world that seem that they're outside of my reach just because I'm a Black woman. And I know that's not true. But I understand that the way this society is set up. So I just wanted to make sure that people understood that no matter what you're going through and no matter what obstacles you might be facing, just know that at least one person is rooting for you. At least somebody is rooting for you, and I want to encourage you to root for yourself. So that was the inspiration behind it, because it's hard to find fans sometimes, you know what I mean? And then also, the second question, so what am I doing as far as the Black community is concerned? So I'm an educator. And so what I have always wanted to do is just work with young people to help them find their voice and to learn how to journey to themselves. Because once you understand yourself, then it's so much easier to advocate for somebody else. It's so much easier to, when you recognize your humanity, and I recognize yours, and then I understand that we're so much more alike than we are different. And a lot of these constructs that have been created to separate us, a lot of times they can be an illusion. You know what I'm saying? So it's good to understand who you are, so I can respect the next person, and then we can fight together. And so I work with young people to help them find their voice, help them tell their story, and help them understand who they are. That's it.
That's my friend. Okay, but also I wanted to. But you have a podcast too. You guys started your podcast. Can you just shout that out a little bit?
Yeah. So the SIP podcast. You can find us on Google Play or Apple Podcasts. So the SIP actually is me and a couple of friends of mine. We're all artists. One is a singer. One is an instrumentalist. So she's a violinist, and then I am the poet. So. Hence the SIP. And so
I thought it was because you guys be drinking.
We drink too.
I saw you drinking. You guys were drinking some kind of like strawberry margarita, like a wine cooler.
Yeah.
Like
it was a strawberry-ta.
Strawberry.
I don't know. That's it. That's what it said. It was a strawberry.
And
it was delicious.
Speaking of, is Steve out there?
Steve
the bartender.
Oh, bartender.
Shout out to the bartender.
Yeah, tip your bartender. Hey.
Tip that guy.
And also bring
He's pouring
Danette
him
a
strong.
drink, I think, possibly.
The next
that was happening.
How do you read my mind?
I mean, it's like we are brothers from another mother, or sisters from another mister.
Sisters from another mister, but I love your father.
I know my dad.
I
My daddy
tell
loves you too. You know what he said, by the way? He was like, oh, wait, that's the singing lady. Tell her she can come to stay at my house in New York rent-free. And I was like, no, Dad, you're so gross.
News to me, but I do love that man. We were drinking outside in her backyard, and I was just singing him like old songs.
He loves it.
Yeah, in the old cafe, the park across the way, the children's carousel. Yeah. He was loving it. He was.
Yeah, because he's old. My daddy like 90, and he's like
was
hitting
like,
on
oh
my
yeah, that's
friends,
my
and
song.
it's gross. But
If he got it, he got it.
I mean, he's still making moves, I guess. Anyway. I wanted to thank you so much for coming up and performing that beautiful piece.
Thank you for
having me.
Thank you
I would
for
like
having
to
me.
give you... Oh, I have one more question, though, for
Yeah.
you. Oh, wait, you have something else you want to shout out? Go ahead.
Well, I wanted to say two things, but go ahead.
No, hit it.
Okay, so the first thing that I wanted to say, I know that there are a decent amount of black people in the room. I can't really see everybody, but...
We're just going to assume.
I'm assuming. However, what I want to make sure people understand, even though it is Black History Month, right? Black history is not just about it's not just for black people. It's your history too.
Amen.
Okay? And I feel like a lot of times we tend to forget that as much as you may know about Thomas Jefferson, then you should know about Franz Fanon. As much as you know about George Washington, you should know about Bobby Seale. You should know about, yes, absolutely, George Washington. These are people that shape the narrative and shape the world that we live in today in spite of their skin color. And so we shouldn't have to relegate Black history to one particular month. But since we have it, we gonna own it. We gonna show the fuck up, right? Yes. However,
now
it's your history too.
We are extending Black History Month. I think we need to switch it to the summer, you guys, because it's so cold.
You ain't wrong.
No,
you
the
ain't
summer
wrong.
is my best time.
It's the shortest month
the
and shit.
blackest in the
I feel
summer.
like I feel real good.
No,
Melanin
it's all on
popping.
purpose.
I get my
most
summer
blackest
complexion.
self, right.
It's real beautiful.
That's all on purpose.
Like, yeah. So
When it's warm.
we're gonna work on that. I
We
think that's
should.
a new thing.
So yes,
Okay,
I definitely,
okay.
I just encourage people to understand their history overall and understand the Black people that have shaped your world as well.
And people you didn't even know was black are
Absolutely.
black. Spoiler alert: Beethoven. Did you know that? Because I didn't. I just learned
I
that his
did.
mama, Beethoven's mama, was a Moor. That's right.
But Beethoven hair looked like mine.
I know. And they drew him differently.
They wore a lot of wigs.
They drew him differently.
So,
they painted him
I don't know.
differently.
I don't know.
I'm just saying. That's like one. I had a whole list of like people you didn't know was black, like me. But I am.
Tan Tigress.
Tan Tigress.
Hey.
What I like in melanin, I make up in militant. Okay, sorry, that's just my little thing. All right, anyway.
And then
a lot
the
of
second
people-
thing
yes.
that I wanted to say.
Oh shit, I'm terrible.
No,
Go
you
ahead.
never. I just wanted to give a shout out to Love of My Life, Candy Baca. So she is actually, yes, love to her,
Woo,
love to her.
Candy.
She is running for Denver City Council in this particular district.
Oh shit.
Right. We're in this district right now. Yes, okay. Just want to make sure. So if you live in the neighborhood, if you live in District 9, make sure you're paying attention to your girl. She has definitely been an advocate for community for decades. I don't know if you saw the most recent cover of 5280 magazine, but she was on there as a neighborhood champion because she has always been fighting for the people. So if you guys want to align yourself with someone that is definitely for the people, please check her out.
You politicking.
Candy DeBaca, y'all.
Candy C. DeBaca. Hey.
Right, what she said. So, yes, y'all check her out. That's Candy with an I, just like Candy.
Okay. So and then I'm going to give my own shout out because actually Candy is one of the subjects of my upcoming documentary, Running with My Girls, which is following women of color who are running for local office in Denver. So that's on Seed and Spark. You can follow me on Twitter. And so if you like the project, we already are funded. We raised the money, but just like check it out. All that. All right, so we're going to move into, we have another guest that is coming on. So I was going to have you stay, Kerrie, but can you move over?
Okay.
All right.
Might not be for Hashim.
Okay. So, no. Crystal.
Disrespect.
Crystal Hawkins. Where are you?
Come on, Crystal.
Get up here, Crystal. Ladies and gentlemen, Crystal. I called you Crystal Watkins. All right, Crystal, thank you so much for coming. You guys, we have Crystal. So, can you guys give Crystal a warm round of applause? I think we should all know that Crystal's a brave soul. This is the first time Crystal's ever met me, and she has agreed to do a little guest spot on Off Color. I wasn't sure if she had listened to the show prior. We usually tell people not to listen before they're a guest because, hey-oh.
And here we are.
Hey! All right, so I just want to let you guys know, Crystal. Oh, I messed something up. I'm sorry. Kerrie, who's your favorite Black historical figure? I forgot.
So James took mine, but it was absolutely
James Baldwin.
Hands down. I love that man.
Word.
Yeah.
Okay,
sure.
sorry.
No,
Thank you.
it's all
Okay,
good.
now you're ready, Crystal. Okay. All right. So, Crystal, who is your favorite historical figure?
So this would be a hard one. I would say an easy one. Michelle Obama. And let me tell you why I say Michelle Obama.
Like it. Yeah.
Michelle Obama is such a class act. And in all caps, you know she's about her business. You know, she can compete with anyone at any table on any topic. She supports children, which, as you know, we get more in today's conversation, you'll learn about the field that I work in. Just a class act. And I have this thing I say all the time. I'm like, just a kid from LA. And Michelle Obama reminds you that she is from the south side of Chicago. And she shows up all the time able to represent in any arena. So I love me some Michelle Obama.
Thank you. That's a good answer. I liked it. All right. So Crystal is coming to us all the way. Originally, she is from Los Angeles, California.
South Central.
Yes. I feel like Janae has stacked the audience with all of her family and friends because that's the most. Come on now. How many times have you seen this many people from South Central in Denver? Let's be real. Okay? I'm just saying. All right. So
I couldn't find black people when I first moved to
no,
Denver.
I couldn't find them
at
either.
all. So yeah,
I was like, okay, yeah, Denver, you know. Okay,
it's a me.
so that's where she's originally from, but you currently live in my favorite chocolate city. I guess it's still chocolate. I don't know. We moved 4
Slowly
years ago.
being gentrified.
Yeah, Oakland, California.
That'd have been nice.
Seriously?
If they'd have dropped some hyphy music for me right then and there.
I know.
Tell me when to go or something.
All right, so I don't know if you guys know if you're new to the show, but White James and I both lived in Oakland, California. So we have that nice little connection of Oaktown. So I wanted to know about your professional work because you are a clinical social worker, correct?
I am a clinical social worker by degree and trade.
Okay. All right. So can you tell me just like a little bit about like where you work and what you do?
Okay. I'm a clinical social worker. I'm a program administrator at the San Francisco Unified School District in San Francisco, California. I oversee a diagnostic behavior program. It's the only one in San Francisco, modeled after a program in San Bernardino, California. So basically the program is for children as young as 3.5 to 5 years old. And the reason we started with children this young is because, here we go, just a kid from LA, I go into meetings all the time. And I'm tired of seeing the same data that's going to show me whether it's mental health, education, or health. The black kids are on the bottom. So what we do really well in the district is we paint this picture of this 12th grader who doesn't have enough credits to graduate, who's been suspended. And then as we're looking over things, we're like, oh, we saw this in middle school. We saw this in elementary. Hold up, we saw this in preschool. So my program is truly an early intervention where we're looking at the environment. And the reason we're looking at the environment, because those that are educators know, by the time a kid gets to your class, you just want them to be able to attend or to sit so they can access the instruction. Well, we're saying sitting is not appropriate. You want to have 3-year-old to sit for like 30 minutes at a time. I said, I'm an adult. The way you want to get Crystal Hawkins from South Central LA irritated, invite me to your meeting and I don't have an agenda to see what's going to happen next, I get anxious. So in my program, we focus on making sure...
you came on this show, girl, because we don't have no...
Making sure the environment is supportive and nurturing where the child's social and emotional needs can be met. Because you can't have academics without social and emotional. They go hand in hand. And what's happening is across the country, you'll look at districts or just data, and they're letting you know by 3rd grade literacy scores how many prisons to build. So they're truly taking data from 3rd grade literacy scores and building prisons, because they're saying by 3rd grade, if a child is not able to read, that they're going to soon drop out, and dropping out goes to what? A life of crime. So that's the data. California has the highest number in the country of being significantly disproportionate. I'm not a math major, but that's how I break this down. Significant disproportionality is basically when you have a small number of black people or people of color, any economic or demographic group in a category that they're overrepresented. In San Francisco, black students make about 4% of the students in the district. And we make up about 60% of those students in special education for emotional disturbances.
Because I was wondering about that because I lived in San Francisco, and I was wondering if there are any black people left in San Francisco at this time. I'm serious. Has anyone been to San Francisco lately? Did you see any black people there?
That's true. So in San Francisco, gentrification continues to be real. I work in the community known as the Bayview Zone. It'll be equivalent to what South Central LA is. And on the corner from my program, a house just sold for $1 million. A lot of the students in my program receive subsidies, which basically we say to go to preschool, you have to be working. Your parent has to prove a need for this program. Not that preschool's for all. You just want your kid to go to school. You're saying you have to work or be going to school, prove a need. You know, but then you're still the family that's working or in school all the time, we're still going to say, oh, but you didn't show up for the PTA meeting or things like that. So families can't even afford to live in San Francisco. So you see black children leaving the district at a significant
incredibly high rate. Yeah, yeah. Surprisingly, I also worked at San Francisco Unified School District. And that was, I remember the special ed classroom was 100% black in the school that I was in. And the school was like, that was all the black children were in the special ed room.
So let me say this. As a mental health professional, I do private practice therapy, individual and families, and I'm very, very cautious about when it comes to diagnosing. Because a diagnosis can follow you throughout your life. In the education system, what happens with little boys, particularly black boys, is that they'll be placed in special education for having difficulty sitting for 30 minutes. And that diagnosis of having ED, emotional disturbance, can follow you so much so that we had a student, was about 23, he came back. He was unable to move up in the military because he had an emotional disturbance diagnosis in the 3rd grade.
I believe it. And I want to, something that came up when you mentioned social emotional support. So for those of you who have not heard the podcast before, our original host, Dr. Gregory Diggs, passed away. Actually, tomorrow will be 1 year. And that was his title. He was a social emotional support person in the schools, and he was our critical race theorist and our friend, and he would have loved the work you're doing. And so if you have a drink, if you guys wouldn't mind, we're just going to give it, because Dr. Diggs, he did love his wine. I mean, he loved it. So we're just going to toast Dr. Diggs, if you guys don't mind. That's all right. So I'm really... That's good. All right. So I wanted to ask you, because one of the things that I feel like, what do you think are the effects of being Black on children? You know, do you know what I'm saying? Like, if you can just like talk a little bit about that. I know the effects that it had on me. I'm half Black, and I was like traumatized by a bunch of shit that happened to me. You guys can read my memoir. And then, but I want to talk about, like, what are you seeing? What kinds of impacts are you seeing on our youth?
I have this thing where I say I've been Black all my life, and I didn't realize I was Black until I moved to the Bay Area and started working in San Francisco. It's not only hard for the Black families and children, it's also hard for the Black professionals. I work within a bureaucracy that has been doing things the way they've chose to do things that work for them for a while, and then I show up. And so I say this, when I show up, you don't get to see all these great letters behind my name and all this great work I do. It's like, who's this little feisty Black chick that is not letting us do all the stuff we normally do? Oh, that's Crystal Hawkins. One of the workshops I do, training or professional development, is just talking about being trauma-informed practice, but also the PTSD of being Black. You know, it comes to just by the color of your skin. Beautiful skin, that not that you had a choice, like, oh, I'm coming out born today, let me get all the Black skin for 100, Alex. It's not that, where it's like, just because the color of my skin, I'm going to face so many different adversities, have so many challenges, be treated differently from my peers just because the color of my skin. One of my favorite books, Ta-Nehisi Coates writes in his book, Between the World and Me, a letter to his son. Where do you hear in American history that someone has to write a letter to their young son to let them know that it's not anything that you've done, but just because the color of your skin, the flesh, your body, you're going to experience exploitation, being killed, all of these things at a significantly disproportionate, higher rate than anyone else in your class or neighborhood, just by the color of your skin. So often our children, that happens. There's been tests and studies that little kids, if all these teachers were in this observation room, a bunch of kids, Black kids, white kids, Latino, Asian students, all the teachers, unfortunately, including the Black teachers, kept their eyes on the Black students. Because that's where there was going to be the bad kids. You hear it all the time. Little Timmy can be rambunctious. But if Malik doesn't want to sit down and want to look, he's bad. He's seen as being older than what he is. They're both 3, 4, 5 years old. Black children are being sent to the principal's office, which in preschool, there's no way of tracking that. You should not be sending a 3, 4, or 5-year-old to the principal's office. That's loss of access to instruction. You know, there's a lot of things happening just by the color of your skin. And then there's systems in place within bureaucracies like educational systems that support reinforcing that. So.
Can I ask a quick question? Is that okay? I just want to make sure. So, I mean, I know that there's also been data that shows that that trauma that you experience can affect you genetically, and you end up passing that down. Did you know? Did you read anything about that?
Generational trauma. Everybody's doing the big ACEs. Right. Adverse childhood experiences. Being born to a family member that had mental health issues, substance abuse, drinking, being any type of abuse in the household. For Black people, it caused you at a higher rate to have heart disease, be more experience like high-risk behaviors or be involved in high-risk behaviors. You know, what's funny, growing up in South Central LA, I think, you know, my mother, she did things. She drank and partied. Also, education was like, you're going to get up and go to school no matter what happened in this household.
Oh, sounds just like me.
It wasn't until I was 30. And I was in this training, and we did a timeline of all the events. So I brought about the riots in the early 90s. And I was like, I experienced trauma. and didn't even know. So to not be aware, you're not even sure how that's showing up. We have kids, I hear kids all the time that are in the little dramatic play. I don't want to be the police, you be the police. Now mind you, I work in the early education department. So 3, 4, and 5 don't want to be the police because what they're seeing in their communities.
They know what's going on.
So not even that, a child who's witnessing domestic violence, substance abuse, all these different things in the home, and they still come to school, that shows up in the classrooms. So we have to get away, if we're going to be supporting our kids, from saying like, what's wrong with you, to like, what's happening with you? Being truly trauma informed if we're going to support. And what I don't want to happen with trauma, mental health professionals, we do this so well. It can become the buzzword for Black kids. You know, ADHD, such and such, da-da-da-da, 4 or 5 years old, ADHD, y'all like, oh, he's Black. Yeah. So what happens, I say also being mindful that me showing up in school, I always did very well in school and I had experienced trauma, so it shows up differently, you know, versus where there's kids in San Francisco on the other side of town that their mother may be high on Xanax or doing something, and then the nanny's, you know, taking care of them. Their dad is drunk or going all the time. It shows up differently. So let's be mindful of mental illness, and mental health awareness is very important. However, please don't stigmatize that something that's negative or trauma is Black. Trauma shows up across all races.
I really like that. And then if this was my basement, I would get into this long story about why I wanted to talk to you deeply, but I think you're going to charge me by the hour for that.
$125.
Yeah.
But for you,
all right.
For you can slide me your insurance
right.
card. I only billed $100. Come on.
No, but I wanna thank you so much for sharing this knowledge with us. I hope you will come back and come on our show so we can do a longer, deeper conversation about my own situation. Okay.
Say less. I'm here.
Okay.
I'm here.
So I would really enjoy that. And then also Kerrie Joy, can we give a round of applause for Kerrie Joy for her performance? Thank you. And Crystal, can you let us know where we can find you on social media? If we want to be in contact with you, can you let people know?
I'm in the process of building out my consulting business, so my website has not gone live. It will be chawkins.com. And C. Hawkins and Associates, forgive me. I'm on LinkedIn, Crystal Hawkins, and I also have a YouTube channel. So Crystal Hawkins, please like, comment, and subscribe.
Yay! And we'll put it up. We'll throw it up on our off-color page and on our Twitter. We're Off-Color Pod. And so we'll make sure that we can get your guys' information out to our masses of fans. And thanks so much. Okay, give them a round of applause. All right, so wait, James, how you feeling? But where's your microphone? Don't be ignorant.
I just told Katrina to get Dr. Diggs' photo. I want to put it
Oh, yeah. If you guys didn't know Dr. Diggs, yeah. Thank you, Katrina. That's my best friend. Okay. Yeah. Oh, here we go. All right, so for now, plug my T-shirts. Wait,
Rebecca, plug your T-shirts.
We have T-shirts. It's not this T-shirt. This one's good, though. Because this is, come on now. Stolen land built by stolen people. Happy Black History Month, motherfuckers. All right, now, I do have a couple T-shirts in the back. We only have smalls and mediums at this time because my friends is fat. But you can also buy Janae's T-shirt. She has a lot, so you should probably get hers. There's a tray in the back. They're only like $20. It's fine. Don't worry about it. Just charge it to the ground, and when it rains, the debt will be settled. Okay. We are ready. So we're going to keep it moving. We're only about 5 minutes behind schedule, so I'd like to say I'm real good. Yeah, we're ahead. Talking to your microphone. Damn.
I apologize.
Thank you. Ugh. All right, so I would like to bring up our next performer. We have the Poet Laureate of Aurora, Colorado. This poet is somebody who can... I feel like I don't even have the words to describe how beautiful his work is, so I'm going to just let it speak for itself. Jovan Mays, can you come up to the stage? You're supposed to hug me.
Oh, sorry.
Is my husband here?
It's so warm.
Hey, baby. Sorry.
So I just wanted to clarify that I am now the emeritus or former poet laureate of Aurora. Our current poet laureate, Asetu Django, is fantastic. I'm very glad that she's holding down the city. I wanted to share a couple poems here. My dad, he's really into like repeating the things that he learns on TV, and one day he was telling me about Freddie King and Albert King, and he's like, just so you know, Jovan, they're all brothers with B.B. King, and I was like, really? These legendary guitarists, and he's like, no. And then I was like, Dad, I don't think they're brothers because they don't look alike. And then I learned that they presented themselves as brothers in an attempt to make sure that their music didn't get stolen like so many other bluesmen's music got stolen. So after B.B. King passed away, I thought it was only appropriate to write a poem for the three of them. This poem's called Three Kings. When they come for your bones, your frets, your tendons, your strings, may they feel the murk still dragging on your backs like children hauling cotton sacks. May they feel the weight of bogwood, cypress, riverweed pulling at those little boy plantation hands. May they know that you are one of the few who rose from the creek willing, with Lucille's, Gibsons, and Flying V's. Your bellies didn't get backwoods, sold up the creek and put on the radio, had black fingers running up the scales like they were trying to escape the bars, but stayed just long enough to tell their stories. I don't know where men like you go. I hope they make a broth of you, brine you down and feed the river. Let the catfish drink your bellows till they become the mouth of the delta, the dragnet before the spill, the bend in Old Blue, velvet cannonball blues boys sliding across the bottom waters like bottlenecks collecting the debris. So you don't need much to sing around here, just enough jigs and reels to string juke joint jowls and make the chitlin circuit till we shock and stroke the current electric. Let the fishermen tell tales of their legendary almost, whiskered, scarred, and lip hooked, had I settled back into the bottoms, swaying in the face of the current, tails wagging like fingers combing the Mississippi, and the waves play till the thrill is gone, till the thrill is gone. Poem.
Give it up for Jovan Mays, please. Come on, Jovan. Come on, take a seat for with me, just for a moment before we get before we have our last guest up here. I wanna talk to you for a moment, if I may.
Okay, let's talk.
All right, now we've met before.
Talk.
You don't remember.
It
was at the library. Anyway.
I remember.
Okay, good.
Ross.
That's right. I quit there. I don't want to talk about it.
We don't have to
It's
talk
a whole other.
Okay. I remember that day, though.
Yeah, it was a good day.
You weren't wearing this.
No, I couldn't wear it. That's why I had to quit. They wouldn't let me be great. You know what I'm saying?
I get it. Because that is great. That is great.
Okay. So that piece, your last piece was obviously quite moving, and I guess I'm just like wondering a little bit about, can you talk a little bit about your personal experiences as a young Black male? And are you from Denver, Colorado?
I'm from Aurora.
From Aurora. When I make my joke and I get in trouble all the time for that one, I won't do it. Okay. Don't worry. Is your phone still on?
It's still playing
I
Solomon.
like that.
From
It's like all sad. I'm like, okay, bring me down, but okay. So I wanted to talk a little bit about that because I'm not from here. I know it seems shocking, but I'm not from Colorado. I'm from New York, and I just wanted to ask you just a little bit about your experience growing up here in Aurora.
I think Aurora's great. I think that Aurora's like as close to what I would think a utopian society could look like. I mean, I love our diversity balance in Aurora, and so when I think about my upbringing, it wasn't until middle school, I wasn't super polarized, right? Like, so my elementary ages, I was polarized. I was like one of two Black kids in my entire school. Our school loved to make the free and reduced lunch kids like very aware that we were free and reduced lunch kids. Like we had separate, like, like people would have the styrofoam lunch trays, or they'd have these like beige plastic ones. There were only two beige plastic ones. and it was mine and Montrell's. And,
Montrell.
and so every time we'd go in there, we'd always be like, we'd always roll in there. We just kind of, and we never saw it that way. It took me being in education afterwards to kind of see like, wow, like they did not know that wasn't okay. But I think about things like that were probably subtly done around me a lot. Yeah.
Yeah. And then, and you're like you're pretty dope, obviously. So I'm just wondering, like, what do you think made the difference in your life where you didn't end up XYZ?
Yeah, luck. Luck is a lot of that. Privilege. I think that my father was very aggressive when we first moved to Denver. We moved to Park Hill, and my sister almost got caught in like a hail of gunfire. Literally, there's like a hole through the front of her big wheel. And my dad was like, we got to go. And so we got to Southeastern Aurora, and I think that gave us some opportunities at some schools that would give us some more opportunities. And I think that all just kind of worked out. I kind of think that I'm a beneficiary of luck, but I'm also a beneficiary of strong choices. And I was one of those ADHD black boys, but I had a grandma who was unrelenting on my educators, that they educate me and not disposition me in that way. So yeah, I mean, I think my father's luck, fortune to be raised by my grandma, her awareness of the education system and trends that were happening in the education system, and knowing what was happening before it became like a norm. Mm-hmm. So I wasn't like the ADHD kid that got lost in the wash. My grandma's caught that right when it came up. Like, no, that's not where he goes. Yeah, he's here.
So again, like, because this is not our regular like venue, but I will say that when you said that, I'm always thinking about myself. But my first grade teacher, they said that I was stupid, that I was slow, and so, but my mom was white, and she was like, "Oh hell no," and she took me to have evaluated and all these things to kind of like prove it. But I feel like, were I not one of only 2 black kids in my school where I grew up, that I could have had some outcomes, I think, that would not have been good had I not had that person. That person was your grandmother, and that person was like my mom, I guess. But it is quite disturbing to think about all of the things that are set up against us. You know what I mean? Like,
sure.
So I'm really excited to have this moment to talk with you, and then we also are on our schedule.
Cool.
But I would like to invite you to come on to Off Color in the very near future.
Thanks for
so
the
that we
invitation.
can have a longer conversation.
Cool.
Are you with it?
Yep. Can I say my favorite black person?
I didn't ask yet, but okay. Hold on.
Everybody got theirs. I just want to say.
Okay. But I wanted to like say, hey, let me just do it. So, Jovan.
Yes.
Please tell me who your favorite black historical figure is and why.
Mine is Sam Cooke.
Ooh. That's such a good reaction. We're like, ooh.
I just think that there's a lot of punk artists right now. Keep it real.
Oh,
I think
shit.
there's a lot of artists.
Hashim is not up here yet. That's our next guest. But, okay.
I just think that the model for which Sam Cooke was trying to create, where by controlling the pop charts, you can control financial demand and then utilize that to feed your movement or feed your community, is something that I don't understand how that model's gotten lost.
That's something, though, I feel like we're working on it. You know what I'm saying? I
Yeah.
feel like we want to support our businesses, support our communities, support our artists. So, but when I say support, I mean give people money, you guys. Okay. So there is that. You got a Cash App or what?
I don't.
Kerrie Joy has one.
Yeah, give Kerrie Joy.
Kerrie Joy's got her Cash App. We will post that later as well. So I want to stop and thank you, baby. And I would like to give me some love. Thank you so much. All right.
Appreciate you.
All right, so you guys, we're wrapping it up here, but I do have one final guest. Danette, where are you? Danette, get up here. Not white Danette, black Danette. Sorry, white Danette. She ran away. Okay, we're gonna wrap it up, but I just have one more. Yeah? Huh? One more song, yeah. So we're gonna have. Can we bring up? I just want to have. I have one more topic of conversation, and we're gonna get into it. I would like you guys. Hashim Coates, can you please come to the stage? Where? Hashim? All right, he's hobbling along. Come on up. Give it up for Hashim Coates. Hey, give me some love. What the hell?
Hello.
Okay, so.
Sorry, I don't have a song or
I know.
any spoken word.
I know. You just have that. So, if you guys are don't know who Hashim is,
Google me.
carefully, Google carefully. You can Google. Woo! Okay, but I have a little nickname for Hashim. I like to call him Hashade because he is constantly throwing that shade. Okay, and so I wanted to. And Hashim is also a Politico. You do a lot of stuff.
I do a lot of stuff.
But talking to our microphone.
All right. So I do a lot of stuff. I'm a Colorado native, born in Denver, raised in Park Hill. I did some time in Oakland. I had to live
Not
with
in
my
prison,
dad. No,
just
no.
like
Well,
yeah.
Listen, a black male growing up in Denver, having to go live out in Oakland in the 80s, that's doing time.
Okay,
That's doing
word,
time.
word.
Yeah, but we lived in East Oakland off of 69th East 14th Street. Yeah, so like my family was about that life.
Okay, word.
Yeah.
Well, I'm so glad that you're here. And so, Danette, I didn't know where you went, girl. You just left.
No, we're back there chilling.
Talking to your microphone.
I've been back in the back drinking.
Okay, good.
I didn't go anywhere.
I just want to make sure everyone knows what's happening.
Steve is pouring
Okay.
great drinks. Make sure you guys get a drink.
Hey,
Tip that guy.
Steve.
I think that's your name,
Yeah.
right? Steve, right? Okay, yeah. Tip Steve.
It's
He's
not
great.
white Steve. I think he's like...
He's handling everybody's.
Steve,
stuff
aren't you
down
black,
there.
Steve? Half black?
He's not.
Nothing?
He's not.
Shut the fuck
He's saying
up.
no.
Well, what you be?
What are
We're
you,
curious.
man?
We're all about the mixed
We gotta
stuff.
know. I gotta know. You know, I thought you were my brother. That's
Are
why I
you
was
in
supporting you.
Are you from New Zealand?
Like, what is happening?
Are you West Indies?
We can hear you, man.
But just tell us what you are. And wait, bring me up some of that Riesling when you come, though.
I'm trying to think
But-
of all the brown
but I
races
wanna
that
know-
don't claim black.
Black. I know this is
New
deep.
Zealand,
I'm here all day, like
Puerto Rican.
Oh shit, Puerto
Bunny
Rican. Listen,
Clark.
Puerto Ricans be like.
I know they be
I
on
know.
the fence. That's what I'm
They
saying.
can't
So-
because they can't help it. They're colonized people. Okay,
Ah.
colonized people.
Okay, but people
Okay.
have a right to identify how
All right.
they want to, and Steve is going to tell
Steve,
us what he
Steve,
identifies
we gotta
as.
know. What do you
I'm
identify
curious.
as?
What your mama and daddy is?
Tell us, Steve.
What does he identify as?
I'm Mexican.
Oh,
Okay.
Oh,
Hola,
papi.
That's the same difference.
venga, yo no sabía. Luego hablamos. Oh shit, my husband's here. I keep forgetting. Okay. All right, so that was interesting.
Hola, ¿cómo está?
Yeah.
So in order to tip Steve, listen, buy me a drink
¿Cuánto,
and tip
Steve?
him for that.
¿Cuánto?
I like it.
Yeah.
All right, so one of the things we like to do on Off Color is we do like to, Hashim's been on the show,
I have been on the
you know, several times, and we like to talk about stuff that's going on in the news, like regular things, okay? So one of the things that has come up this week, I wanted to talk about, wait, are you ready?
I'm ready.
This
What,
ear
to
is
sing?
for you.
Sorry.
Okay.
I mean, but you have me
I'm
up
like,
here
ready
laughing.
yourselves.
I'm whispering to Hashim like we're at Rebecca's house right now, and
Okay.
I'm like, oh right, there's an audience. Let me pull it
But
together.
we know we got to pull it together because my house is
We
dope.
be getting turned.
If
at
you
the
get
house.
lucky, you might get invited to be on the show. Okay.
Right.
So here it is. I want to talk about Jussie Smollett.
All right.
I want to talk about it because I'm feeling some kind of way about it.
I am too.
Okay? And I think it's important. I think it's something to discuss. And I feel that if we don't, we're doing like a disservice to our people, to America, to the media, all those things. All right? So we're about to go in. But first, I'm going to start White James. Don't ask why. White James,
Colonized.
Can I ask why?
you can ask why.
Yeah.
Watch this. He knows. White James knows what to do. But White James, are you familiar with the Jussie Smollett story?
Yeah,
So can I ask you like a serious question?
sure.
When you first heard it, what were your thoughts? Go.
So I mean, when I first heard it, I literally just saw like social media headlines. I didn't research it deeply, but I was just like, oh, that's terrible. I
Right.
mean, that's about it.
Right.
Yeah.
You didn't think, oh, this dude's lying or anything
but
like that.
But I saw a lot of that, and the fact that the fact that it looks like he's lying is very unfortunate because a lot of people seem very excited about the fact that he was lying, and that bums me out.
Okay. So I want to say that I had kind of like a similar reaction to that. I saw it and I was like, oh shit. And then I thought, this is terrible. And that was kind of the end of it. You know what I mean?
Right.
That was it. And then people started saying, oh, this doesn't sound right. It's not adding up. And it was coming out a lot of that. So I want to ask you, what was your initial thought, Hashim?
My initial thought was this could happen in any given city in America, period. Flat out. It could happen to me walking to my car right now. It really could happen to me. I mean, because I am kind of popular, right? Kind of famous, like in politics here or whatever. I'm active. That's the word. I'm active in local politics here, and I don't bite my tongue when it comes to calling out something wrong. I just don't have the same star Hollywood platform that he has. So the same thing could happen to me here. So when I heard it, I'm like, yeah, it's true, because the racist cracker in chief has pushed this type of violence, has pushed this type of attitude, and it's done. Like, it's there. Google it if you think I'm lying. Where he has pushed to incite this type of behavior amongst people, to treat black people, to treat non-white, non-male, non-rich, non-Christian people this way.
Okay. All right. So Janette, what was your first thought?
I thought he was lying.
Yeah.
But you can't make up bruises. You know, I absolutely saw those pictures, and I absolutely had a concern for the human being that I saw in those pictures. Like, whoa, what did happen? But when I began to listen to the details of the story, I began to suspect that all of the truth wasn't being told. That was my judgment first off.
But when has it ever been safe for a person that is non-white, non-male, non-Christian, non-rich to ever tell the full story?
True.
Right? So
which I absolutely hear you on that too.
So
yeah.
Being my testimony, if you Google me, you will understand how I am a victim of that. Mm-hmm. Like, I was a victim. I believed, I guess there was a part of me that thought I was a white man, that like I can use 911, I can trust the police, I could do X, Y, Z. And they're like, oh yeah, nigga, you got a goddamn felony charge against you. Like, I'm 43, I was 41 at the time. Like, I ain't never done shit. Like, how has this happened when I fully cooperated and I've acted upon the advice of 2 911 calls, an off-duty patrolman, or a patrolman, he was still on duty, and fully cooperated? Like, I'm the victim? Like, so when I heard it, I'm like, yeah, it's possible. And then when they said he doesn't want to turn over his phone, I'm like, my brother, do not turn over that phone. Like, make the police operate within inside of the confines of the Constitution. Don't do it. So fast forward from January to February, like here we are now, and all that stuff that happened, like, I don't know what to say. I don't know what to think. But I do know what to offer, and that's love and compassion towards him. So when I look at it as far as a victim, would it be wrong for me to say this is a victimless crime? Maybe. But when I say the harm that was done, Jesse holds the keys for the harm that was done. Like, I don't subscribe to the shit when people say that, oh, now he's messed it up for all people of color communities to cry victim, or people of color, when something happens, when they report it, like now they'll be disbelieved. They never believed us from jump, right? Like, let's be clear about that. They've never believed non-white, non-male, non-rich, non-Christian bodies from jump. And I mean, there's historical context from that, like the Central Park 5, right? Emmett Till, like there's just so many historical markers of this. I mean, Kavanaugh, right? Like, you know, the goddamn rapist.
Fuck that motherfucker.
Yeah,
I said
Predator
it.
Kavanaugh, like they never believe if you're not white, if you're not male, if you're not rich, if you're not Christian, they don't believe you. So yeah, he gets the benefit of my doubt. And I sleep well at night, giving him my sympathy. Right. I sleep well at night, hoping that he is treated just like that lion-ass white boy in the Olympics, Ryan Lochte. Yeah. He needs to get the same type of treatment. That means charges are dropped, and he gets to go on about his damn life.
Right, and I do want to clarify. I saw a victim in that picture. At the end of the day, my disbelief wasn't so much about Jesse as opposed to, I'll be completely honest, Lee Daniels. That was my suspicion.
That self-hating coon perpetrator.
I was like, that nigga is responsible for everything. That's what I thought. I didn't think to myself, Jesse's a lie. I thought to myself, Lee Daniels or some pressure had influenced. It sounded like a Medea movie. It was so sensationalized. I did not necessarily think to myself, oh, Jesse's a damn lie, but it just wasn't the details.
No, because I heard that from a lot of
and this is coming from a person in entertainment. I was a musical theater minor. I've acted in plays and movies and commercials. I modeled. I sang. It can get a little crazy behind the curtain. Yeah. You guys see what we want you to see as entertainers, okay? But that you don't know nothing about behind that curtain. That's why we have the Bill Cosby issue. People are very conflicted because the person he presents is different than the person that he is behind the curtain. Yeah. And so I took that into account when I made my judge. And it was a judgment. I have no idea what the truth is. Yeah, and that's the point. Yeah, but that was my judgment is, okay, we're talking about a whole bunch of theater kids. And I know what happens behind the curtains. And we're just finally, I think I just saw something that talked about his substance abuse issues. That ain't nothing new. He's just the only one talking about it. People in the entertainment world do a lot of drugs. We drink a lot of alcohol, and we come up with a lot of crazy ideas, and we just vomit it all on stage for you guys, and you take from it what you will, and you go home. But at the end of the day, there's a lot more going on behind the curtain.
Like we were talking about Mary J. Blige, right?
Right.
We want Pain Mary, right? We want Addicted Mary.
Mary's songs are great
music,
when Mary
right?
is
so we
messing with that no good man, right?
So trifling ass Negro.
No, but it was just that I feel like when we something that like bothered me about the reaction was I felt like people were very like gleeful, you know, of like calling him out, of being like he's a liar. I mean, I don't want to diminish this in any way, but like I'm sorry, the fact that he paid with a check, I thought that shit was hilarious. I'm sorry. He said they paid him with the check.
Hold on. Off the press.
They pulled it?
TMZ, right?
Oh shit.
The truth of the news right now.
Listen, y'all.
TMZ.
This is not the news. Fact check me.
I don't have all the answers, but I got my answers.
Yeah.
Right? TMZ released a story today stating that check was, or it insinuated that check was given for the personal training. Right, and that's what my belief was. $3,500 to do something like that.
That's what we thought. That's what we said too. Like, why would you do it so cheap?
And then even with this dude working on Empire and all the scandals that the shows do, like, how the hell are you not smart enough to pull this off? Like, to take some notes from that. So when I heard that a check was done, I'm like, that was for a service of like personal training. And so I just don't believe it. And I don't believe shit that the goddamn Chicago Police Department says. Like, I cannot subscribe to how long did they spend giving time on saying, like, oh, yes, we did not shoot someone walking away from the police car 16 times. Like, they spent all this energy into doing that. And I'm supposed to trust them now?
Well, they say that's how they cracked the case because they're so familiar with falsifying information. They were like, this is how we know.
Then they all need to arrest themselves.
Yeah.
Right? Because there's no such thing as a good cop if a good cop witnesses a bad cop and doesn't turn that bad cop in.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
I am thankful.
Becomes a bad cop.
I am thankful that Jesse got us having this conversation because the truth is it does happen to Black and brown and queer people every day. All the time. Every day. It's not an outlandish idea.
Because we think...
And now we're having to sort of confront that, even though it's in our face all the time. Mm-hmm. So it's like, in some ways, I imagine, this is just my imagination, because I don't know Jesse, right? Mm-hmm. That he did a whole bunch of blow and said to himself, I need to highlight something that is important to me or that I'm passionate about, and came up with this story with his drug buddies, and they went through it without thinking it through. You know what I mean? Like, we just sort of went for it. I think that perhaps the drama or the actor in them didn't think it would be this serious. It may be more superficial, sort of like an episode on one of the television shows. I think that sometimes people who act on television shows, they're a little disconnected sometimes. You know, you're in this television show all day long. That is your world. Yeah. The little store on the set, that's your, you know what I mean? Like, this is the life that you're looking at. I just don't think that they thought through how serious it was. But I will say I am thankful to Jesse for doing it however he did it, because now we all have to really confront
Yeah, that's a silver
And it's a
lining.
real thing. It is a real thing, whether he's telling the truth or not. It is an issue. And now we're all talking about it, whether it was real with him. And do I think he needs to be in jail? Absolutely not.
Nope.
No, nobody should be in jail. Don't get me started on that shit.
No,
Elizabeth
R. Kelly should be in jail.
Okay, R. Kelly, but
No, pause. The white terrorist.
Oh, that was on my
Right,
card.
like,
Thank
he
you.
needs to be in jail.
Thank
Like,
you.
That happened the day later. That did not get the same headlining news. I forget his first name.
I got
Hanson?
it. No,
Yeah.
because I forgot. You guys, this is okay. Now you guys get the real
like-
show. So Christopher Hassan was his name, and guess what? None of us know who that is, and he is a white supremacist.
Yes.
That worked for the fucking Coast Guard.
That got a military check.
Been through it. Okay, got all these guns, got all this shit. Had a list of Democrats and journalists that he was going to murder.
It had an arsenal.
He had an arsenal,
Yes.
and there's so many. And so I'm just saying,
So he
like,
was trained. He had an arsenal.
Yeah.
He had a list. But once again, the dumpster in chief does not want to speak about this with the same fervor that he gives about Jussie.
that's
Yeah,
what I'm
right.
saying. So that's my point, I guess. Is
then-
go ahead.
The Alabama dude, the Alabama legislator that's talking about, well, maybe conservatives are going to have, the Klan have
Yeah,
to do
the
night
Klan
rides
needs to
again.
come back.
Like,
So
all this is an insinuation of, like,
Yeah.
they want to talk about what Jesse did might have started a race war. Shut up and sit the hell down. Because that's not going to do it. But when you want to incite this type of thing that my grandparents lived through in their lives, like the rising of the Klan, or the active activity of the Klan, like that can't not happen anymore. That has to stop. And that is what is not only is terroristic because it's anti-American, right? Yeah, I mean, because the South lost. Like, let's be clear, the South lost. Anytime that you want to like wave the Confederate flag, that means you are a supporter of treason. And you should be dealt with according to how the Constitution says that we deal with people that are treasonous. Period. Deuces. Right? So, but then, like, for that Klan thing to be hashed upon people that are non-white, non-rich, non-male, non-Christian, and that are American citizens, it needs to be dealt with appropriately. I mean, we did it. What was 9/11 about? What was the Patriot Act about? Like, let those laws apply towards all the white nationalist groups, the same ones that the dumpster in chief says he supports, says that he is. The laws need to apply to him. Either are we going to abide by the laws or are we not, right? That's the same rhetoric that they say. And I just have a question. Are we going to abide to him or are we not?
no, we're not, because we know where we live.
Can't he just pardon himself?
Right.
I mean, he's probably gonna have to. Will he pardon me? Okay, so because who knows what I'm about to do? Just kidding. Listen, you guys, our time is wrapping up. So I did want to know.
right.
This is so important.
I'm listening.
Who is your favorite Black historical figure and why?
I was waiting. I was going to see if you're going to treat me different because I'm the darkest person up here today, right? The most melanated person up here. Yeah, colorism is real.
Colorism is real.
Yeah.
I'm well aware, and any
She
of
is.
my
And
Black
she is
brothers
black.
and sisters, I
She is
am
black.
Black.
She is
and
black.
people need to just get used to that
Get used
shit.
to it. Black is a spectrum.
Amen.
So my most favoriteest is all of them. Right? Like, because it takes all to make
Takes
it.
all, yeah.
Except for the coons. I don't appreciate the coons. They are not my favorite.
So would you say Jesse's?
No, he's not. He's not.
Nope.
I would say Clarence Thomas. I would say Alan Keyes.
I love Marcus
I
Garvey.
like Marcus
I
Garvey.
do
Marvin
too.
doesn't make my list.
Listen, no, he's not coon. He
I'm
good.
going off
We
my
were
coon
listing
list.
Coon.
Coons.
Yeah.
Coons.
Oh,
sorry.
no.
Yeah.
Cut.
Yeah.
Okay.
Marcus Garvey.
Marcus Garvey.
Oh.
Yeah. All right. So
Ben Carson is, but
No,
but
those
if I have to
people, they
identify-
traded.
But
They
if I have to
traded.
identify a name of one that has like touched me and affected me the most, it would go out to my grandmother. Like, yeah. Shout out to the grandmas again, and to my mom as well, and even my dad with his old trifling black ass. Like he instilled some Black pride that like Black is important. Like he's an NOI, so like I heard the tapes. And I took the meat from the bone and threw the rest away. So it starts at home. The hero started at home.
I love that. Thank you, Hashim. All right. So we want to go out. We had one request for Danette Hollowell to take us home with a
Amazing
nice
Frankie
singing song.
Beverly.
Would you mind, baby? Would you
All right.
mind?
Whoa. No, I think DJ.
No.
What do we
DJ,
get it together?
I think we should get off the
DJ.
stage and let Danette
Oh, he said
just like do her shit.
Well,
Because-
okay, so guys, I have a song that I just wrote 2 days ago, and I'm going to sing it for you. It's, yes? You missed it. May 18th. Everybody hear that? May 18th? Holler if you hear me.
Wait,
May
but-
18th. That's
but I
not
also-
far from now. That's like a month.
It's
and like
not, but I
18
also
days.
can't-
I'm not
I know.
done with my shout out. June, it's going to be 5 points. That means the streets that all meet, there's 5 points that meet right on 27th and Welton. I will be right there in a place called the Rossonian. It's so historic and so beautiful. I'm talking Billie Holiday, Duke Ellington. Anybody who is black and a musician came through Denver but was not allowed to be right where we are. This was off bounds, and you might get strung up by the Klan for being here if you were black. Didn't matter how much money you were. In fact, there's a building not far from here with a basement where Klans, you can go on a haunted tour here in Denver and see a basement that the Klansmen used to gather people up in and kind of torture them and whatnot. That's right here. That's Denver history, not making it up. But in 5 points, you were safe. And you were safe, and white folks would even sneak over to hear the really awesome music to a place called Rossonian. It's been closed for 50 years. It's a historic building. Chauncey Billups, Denver native basketball player, has purchased it, and I get to sing in it. Is the
So dope. It's so
really awesome part of that. 11:30, May 18th at the 5 Points Jazz
We're gonna be
Festival.
promoting the shit out of that. The other thing I wanted to say was that Danette is also our regular guest on Off Color, so you can also check her out
Yeah,
there.
I come hang out with this lady all
Okay,
the
so
time.
that's one of those things. And then the other thing is sometimes it's hard because we're like two divas, you know, but I'm tone deaf.
And I'm like, I'm not done with my shout out.
So it's all good.
Not
It's all
done.
good. She's all good. But I just want to thank you because you're honestly I just want to tell you how much I love you, girl.
I love you too.
And I think you guys should know that Danette watched our 3-year-old son for a week while we went to LA. And that's why he misses.
It's true.
I
I
love
gave
you,
him
girl.
some of those,
Okay.
black lady, look, homie.
All right.
Let me get down where you can see my eyes.
I told
We're gonna
you
pull it
that
together
kid,
in this
he has
here grocery
had
store today.
he has had a black experience, and everybody knows that.
He was stomping his feet. I'm like, look.
All right, girl, you take it away. I love you, and thank you so much, and bless us.
Okay, I just
with
wrote
that
this
voice.
song, so I wrote down my lyrics because, I'm not super familiar with it yet, but I would love to share it with you. It's the first time I'm performing it, so, you guys it's like a treat. Let's do this. It's called Juneteenth. Pretty brown ladies kissing their babies, driving them crazy, wondering, baby, how will they grow? Pretty brown boys licking their lips and flashing their clips and setting them being positive. Just another day.
Anderson, James, Malkin, Megan, White James. Round of applause for our Off-Color podcast and all the wonderful guests that were here. Kerrie Joy, Jovan Mays, Crystal Hawkins, Hassan, what's Hassan's last name? Hashim, we didn't get to meet yet. Nice to meet you. Thank you for being here. Thank you all for being here. We've got a couple more events. I'm so glad
Off Color is a presentation of Tan Tigress Productions, hosted by Rebecca Henderson, produced by me, James Meekum, music also by me. Find us on the web at offcolorpod.com, on Twitter at offcolorpod, on Facebook at Off-Color Podcast, and subscribe to us on Stitcher, iTunes, Spotify, and anywhere else you get your podcasts. Also, if you're looking to register to vote in Colorado, do it on the Secretary of State website, sos.state.co.us. Thanks for listening.